So if I just look at the anomaly detection workflow that actually goes through and is seen as we kind of go through, we can see that every time the system is working and bringing in that data, it's running through a series of different categories. And in this case, we'll talk about go-to-market data, so that revenue connected piece. So when you're connecting to your CRM, number one, CRM data is inherently sparse. There's lots of complications with getting marketing professionals, sales professionals, and other team members to input all the data you need. So you need a system that can dynamically understand that sparsity and can also go and derive better views or better forecasts for you. So in Una, it's very simple. Connect to your CRM, design those dimensions all in tool, and then something like this just happens. It's going to go through and it's going to look at all of my revenue data. It's going to then send me out an email if there are any anomalies, and it's then going to go out and actually look to see if there's any forecasting issues with that data. Why? Because as Clayton was mentioning, unfortunately, there's a lot of sentiment behind pipeline data. A CRO or head of sales, they're going with gut feel after years usually of understanding the business, understanding the client requests. But at the end of the day, you also need to look at that data look and feel. And built into Una is this ability where you can actually drop in all sorts of other capabilities right from that start of the data. So the minute data touches Una, what you're really getting is this ability to see that flow all the way from start to finish and actually see outcomes in a way that makes sense, whether it's going and doing regression, whether you're doing some clustering on a new data set, whether you're looking at something like you move on from connecting your revenue and you're now looking at connecting more details like your billing data and actually looking for the anomalies and the three pieces of pillars of building revenue, right? Your CRM, your billing system, and your ERP, making sure those are all in alignment. You can very quickly do that just by dragging and dropping those elements in here. Now, this is all looking very technical, so let's get into sort of more of that look and feel glass of what we care about. And what we care about is obviously making sure that we understand sort of where things are at. So you've got this great ability to see all this information flowing through, and you can pick from where you are. Now, I'll go into the chatbot at the end, but as Clayton said, a lot of what happens up front is about getting that data quality, and being able to see that information. So in my example data set that I just pulled in, I can see that we're starting to get a little bit off kilter and we're starting to see a higher frequency of anomalies. When I'm using that gut feel, I'm going into my CRM and I'm putting a forecast confidence of 80%. Yeah, that's really commit into my pipeline. This is actually going to tell me whether it should be or not. And so I can see exactly which potential contracts are at risk based on the ones that aren't checking, like, yes, we're good to go. I can look at them and I can say, yeah, okay, that really doesn't make sense, or, oh, that in fact does make sense. And so right from the data touching the system, users are getting these types of visuals that say, okay, I see where the gap is. Now, what that means is if the system's telling you there's a gap, it doesn't mean you're not going to hit your forecast. It just means that you probably should be paying more attention to how you make that forecast. So by having the ability to blend anomaly detection, data quality right from the get-go, and being able to go very deep into an AI predictive-based forecast of that exact same information using all the steps and stages in your pipeline and the way that you build your revenue infrastructure, and have it automatically cast out, hey, you had this many leads, you're expecting your sales professionals to pick up this many things and have this many things closed won. And then if you're obviously recurring or you've got some delivery mechanism, are those projects successful? Will we have a repeat customer? Can be on that sort of other side. But what this has done is it's taken all the anomalies into account. It's taken all the historical pipeline activity, and it's saying, okay, based on those 3 or 4 or 5 anomalies, which aren't likely to close, let's look at what that flow of pipeline needs to be over time. And when Clayton was talking about Daryl's, desire to join this team, our CFO, one of the biggest things that he and I first talked about is the runway, right? The runway of a CFO to understand how accurate that revenue is one of the biggest black boxes and black holes for them when they don't have the ability to see what that looks like. If you're in a business that has, sales cycles of, let's say, less than 90 days, you're immediately at risk if you have a high degree of anomalies, low degree of data quality, to know whether you're actually going to hit your numbers or not, because you may only have up to 2 quarters of visibility. What Una does is it takes that information and it drives forward a path to say, based on your current pipeline, build me some synthetic pipeline over the next 18 to 24 months, depending on your configuration. And now let's see how many periods and how many quarters out we are. and how confident we are that we'll actually hit our numbers. And it doesn't matter whether you're looking at this at an isolated view of a market, a product, a region. All of that just happens inside the Una universe, but it's all traceable. I can actually go right back into the deals that initially made that progression rate, and I can see what progressed and what didn't progress. So it's really simple for CROs, heads of marketing to see, yep, those deals actually were happening, they were in flight, and to see that synthetic pipeline build forward is really easy for those users. So high degree of visualization, high degree of confidence that that number is right.